What's going on, guys? So if you're new here to the channel, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and enable notifications. That way you never miss out on any of the Naruto lore conversations we have on the channel from the beginning of the month up to the 14th of the month. However, with that being said, if you're watching from this point onward, I'm assuming you know everything that's happened with all the events of Sasuke Jinraiden. However, if you want to get caught up, I recommend going to the homepage, scrolling down to the Naruto novel section of the homepage, and looking for the playlist that's titled Sasuke Jinraiden, because from this point on, I'm assuming you are all caught up, and I'm not going to bother explaining where this takes place or what happened prior to this. So getting right into it, I gotta say, this installment of Sasuke Jinraiden right here is probably one of my favorite ones, because we have Sasuke in a very fragile state of mind. So like I said in the last video, Sasuke is a man who has come to a fork in the road. So on one road, you have returning to Konoha and accepting Itachi's wish of being seen as a hero of the Hidden Leaf Village, as a guy who avenged the Uchiha clan, who got rid of the dishonorable Itachi Uchiha, who dishonored the clan by massacring the clan. Even though the people don't know the truth, that's what Itachi wanted for Sasuke, and Sasuke for a moment is considering like, hey, I'll just go back and I'll restore the Uchiha clan in that way. However, on the other side, the other fork in the road is Sasuke, where he's very seriously giving consideration in taking vengeance against Konoha, and one of the options that Sasuke's taken is potentially joining the Akatsuki as a formal member, not just as a affiliate like he ended up doing eventually, but instead outright donning the robes and being a full-fledged member. Well, what ends up happening is after he has that huge nightmare sequence where he's speaking with his subconscious, and his subconscious is just poking holes in all of Obito's words when Obito is pretending to be Madara Uchiha and he's feeding Sasuke this web of lies mixed with half-truths. Well, what we end up getting is that Sasuke comes to consciousness and he's looking up at the stalactites on the roof, and Sasuke is just continuing to replay all the events of the battle, and now he's doing so with a fresh set of eyes because his subconsciousness has now spoken to him. And for a bit of reference, Sasuke has been blacked out for an entire day. So you might be saying, wait a second, I watched the anime, it didn't seem like it went that long, and I read the manga, it didn't seem like it went that long. So if you actually go to the manga, in particular when you go to Naruto chapter 401, when you get to the back end of the chapters around page 14 and 15, you see the scene where you have the candle's beginning to flicker out, and then you give a black panel and it has Obito's words where he says, because he had to fight you and die in front of you. You have that black box right there. That black box then transitions over to Sasuke, and he's standing out at the cliffside, out at the ocean, and that's when he awakens his Mangekyo Sharingan. So like I've talked about in the past, when stuff like that happens, that's typically when the anime will build in room for filler to show you other events that supposedly happen in those obscure panels like that. Just like I said, like with the Land of Tea arc being crammed into Naruto anime, and they used a one panel that was very obscure of the Ichiraku ramen stand to try and say that a whole filler arc took place. So you kind of have to do the same thing here with the light novel. But the reason why that's so important is that Sasuke, that dream, that argument he had with himself lasted for an entire day. And as this is going on, he's laying on the straw mat, and Obito's been watching him the entire time. And he's watched this Sasuke's toss and turn, and the only time he's really kind of stepped away from Sasuke is to do something with Itachi's body that is something that really gets on Sasuke's nerves, but it gives a huge hint towards Itachi's disease, and I cannot wait for you guys to get some of this information. So with the scene and the context finally being set, it's here I'm going to begin reading the scene from the novel, and then I'm going to come back to you guys with my thoughts on everything, and it's here I'm going to begin quoting. So when I woke up, I vaguely sensed the ticking noise of the water drops falling from the rocky surface. For a moment, I couldn't tell where I was. It was a cave room carved from the rock. Maybe I fell asleep while I was listening to Madara's words. I couldn't tell if the dim lighting was due to the candle's flame or the searing pain that was afflicting my eyes. I couldn't understand where the dream ended, leaving room for reality. Still, lying on the straw mat, I stared at the stalactites on the roof. That black dream was terribly realistic. I had the feeling that my brain was enfolded by a gray mist, and I felt my head getting heavy. The Mangekyo Sharingan high in the sky, the boy wearing the mask, the dark forest, the murder crows of a similar vortex. I clearly remember about all of that, but no matter how much I rummaged in my mind, I couldn't grasp the really important thing. After a while, I convinced myself there wasn't anything of such relevance. It was just a dream, nothing more, nothing less. I told myself that in a ninja's world, nothing was certain. The second I made this consideration, I heard Itachi's voice. "Forgive me, Sasuke. This is the last time." I kept staring at the roof. Something certain. That night, when I was still an insufferable brat, Itachi hadn't killed me. Something certain. Inside these eyes that gave me the searing pain, there was a Mangekyo Sharingan given to me by Itachi. I could feel it forming. Something certain. I was free from Orochimaru's seal, and again, it was something certain. Itachi had touched my forehead. "Forgive me, Sasuke. This is the last time." I tried to touch my forehead where Itachi touched me, but my fingers were neither heavy nor warm like Itachi's. Suddenly, my eyes filled up with tears, and I clenched my knees to my chest. I was once again swallowed by that short dream. Behind Itachi, full of wounds, there were people from the Leaf. They were laughing. Naruto, Sakura, Kakashi. They were all laughing with an amused look. "What's so funny?" I shouted, dashing towards them. My fist, however, went through Naruto's body. My kick went through Sakura's, and the kunai made Kakashi slightly tremble, just as if he was a mirage. "Quit laughing! That's enough!" I shouted. Something certain. The Uchiha had died out. Itachi was dead, and the people from the Leaf, they were laughing. I sensed a presence, and I turned back. "You're really having bad dreams." Madara's silhouette appeared from within the darkness. "So how are your wounds?" I raised my trunk. "It's normal." However much he was shaken from his disease, Itachi Uchiha surely wasn't a lousy opponent. "Itachi." Some way, I managed to move my mouth. "Where's Itachi?" "Zetsu and I, we buried him with full honors." "Zetsu? That sort of carnivorous plant?" "Yes." "What about his eyes?" "So, you know about their secret then?" "Itachi told me. He claimed that if you steal the eyes of an Uchiha, you can get the Mangekyo Sharingan, whose light will shine eternally, and that you seize your brother's eyes." "So is that what he told you yesterday?" "But the truth is that my brother presented them to me." I wanted to ask him where Itachi had been buried, but I couldn't. A searing pain pierced my eyes. I covered my face in my hands and I pulled my knees to my chest. "It looks like you haven't gotten used to your Mangekyo Sharingan yet. The pain, it'll last for a while." Madara came closer and handed me something. It was in Itachi's pocket. It was a little bit old, but it was better than nothing. It looked like eye drops. "I have no reason to trust you. Do you really think I'm such a thoughtless guy to put those eye drops in?" But instead of telling him this, I accepted the flask and noticed that there were still some drops left at the bottom. Itachi was dead, and my revenge had been accomplished. Even if it had been poison, it wouldn't have mattered anymore. When I put some in, my eyes cooled down and the pain settled down. "Don't worry, Itachi's eyes have been set apart, so they can be transplanted sooner or later," Madara told me, while the silhouette slowly started to fade away. "Supposing that what Itachi told me yesterday is the truth, what would you gain from telling me?" I asked him, rubbing my eyes hard. Madara didn't answer. He just stood still. "You're the one who talked to me about it, and I can decide to trust in you or not. Then try to win my trust. Why did you tell me those things?" I continued, staring at him through my fingers. A long silence followed. Then Madara said calmly, "I did it to become your comrade. In his attempt to protect the Leaf, Itachi betrayed the Uchiha. Furthermore, he wanted you to stay loyal to the village. If you respected Itachi's will, you probably live in the right way. But in this case, we will become enemies." End quote. So right here, this is what I mean when I say Sasuke is in a very fragile state, because Sasuke is teetering, and Obito's well aware of it, because his warning to Sasuke is right there. If you stay loyal and you live inside the village as Itachi wants you to, you're probably living the right way, but we will become enemies. And that's Obito warning him, if you choose that path, I will kill you. And he also was in a situation where he's emotionally manipulating Sasuke because Obito's able to read Sasuke, and the moment that Sasuke finds out that Obito had Itachi's body and that he and Zetsu buried Itachi in the way that he describes it as burying him with full honors, Sasuke in that moment wanted to go see Itachi himself. Obito kept the body away from Sasuke as leverage because that emotional attachment's there, as well as the fact that he knows eventually Sasuke's going to want that Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan in order to gain that power. And so what you end up getting is Obito continuing to maintain leverage over Sasuke. So I like how there's a little bit of a back and forth going on, a cat and mouse game right here. And what I also like right here is the fact that when it comes to Itachi's illness, you have to look at it. It was said that Itachi was taking so many different medicines to prolong his life. And one thing that we know is that Itachi had very terrible eyesight, and Itachi had issues when it comes to overusing his Mangekyo Sharingan, losing the light, having pain in the eyes. That's what those eye drops are for. And Sasuke doesn't know it quite yet, but when it comes to Sasuke with the cooling down of the eyes and the pain in his eyes going away as he's using those drops have some side effects to them. So that's going to be important to keep in mind as we go further into this. But what I also like about this is the fact that on top of you getting an idea of some of the medicines that Itachi was taking to prolong his life, you also see that when it comes to Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan, according to this novel, Obito says that you haven't fully gotten used to your Mangekyo Sharingan. Sasuke right now is struggling, and as he's replaying the events of the Uchiha Massacre, as he's replaying Itachi's last words and he's trying to piece together everything, he's describing a throbbing sensation inside of his eyes, and that's very consistent with the other light novels that are out there, in particular the Itachi Shinden novels, so the Itachi Book of Daylight and the Itachi Book of Midnight. In both of those novels, when Itachi awakens his Sharingan and then awakens his Mangekyo Sharingan, that throbbing sensation in the eyes is there just before the eye awakens, and then after the eye awakens, that throbbing sensation is still there until Itachi is able to control it. And that's what you're seeing here with Sasuke, is the fact that he feels it. He feels the change coming. He's aware of what it is. And that's why his consciousness tells him, you won't get anywhere until you're able to make peace with yourself. And inside of yourself, Itachi is crying. That power that Itachi died to give Sasuke in order to awaken it is slowly bubbling to the surface. And Sasuke is well aware of it. And that's why he's going on that soul searching right there. So I love these little small tidbits that you get, because it gives you the opportunity to see more Sasuke's mind state. And I like how in this next video that we're going to be going into after this, we get to see Obito laid on even thicker when it comes to the whole talk no jutsu and the clashing of the two justices. And what I like is the fact that Sasuke has already considered the possibility of some of the stuff that Obito's saying. And that's the whole purpose of his whole encounter with his internal self. The whole purpose of that encounter was to poke holes in it. And now he's questioning Obito, saying, give me a reason to trust you. And Sasuke's got his guard up. And that's why you see Sasuke after the fact, when he's meeting with Team Taka and Obito and Kisame ends up showing up there, why Sasuke's in a situation where he's getting very testy and he's pushing back. We're seeing the slow development of Sasuke getting to that point, because he understands, like he said in this passage, in the world of the shinobi, there are no certainties. There's always deception. And he's trying to find out where exactly the line of deception is. He knows that he's being told truth, but he doesn't know what part of the truth are actually lies. So my question to you guys is, how do you guys feel about Sasuke in this time right here, continuing to hear Itachi's voice, and Itachi's voice being served as an anchor to root him back into reality? And how do you feel about that dream that he had where Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi are laughing at him and laughing at Itachi's dead body? In your opinion, if Sasuke had gone back to Konoha and he had told the members of Team 7 the truth about Itachi, which members of Team 7 do you believe would have believed Sasuke? And Which member of Team 7 do you think would have been affected the most upon hearing the truth about Itachi and what the Hidden Leaf Village had done? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video, guys. Have an awesome day.